In this GTFS Builder training tutorial, we're focusing on exporting, validating, and hosting a GTFS data file. We're working with your single GTFS generator workbook, and our goal is to have a file that is your GTFS as a zip file. Let's focus on exporting a GTFS. We're inside of our workbook. We're in the Notes tab. We scroll down to the Generate Stop Times and Trips. We click on that, and once we've completed that, we might have shapes and we'll calculate the distance. If we do not have shapes, we generate GTFS and it creates a file that goes into a folder named Feed. You're going to select all and compress them. Not to worry, we're going to do this a few times. So we're in our Notes tab, we're generating the file. As you watch these steps, in this warning we tell you that all the stops are there. In that warning we tell you did not yet have a feed folder and that we're going to replace any data in there. There's nothing that you can undo. So we're in the folder now that now has the 12 files that we need. We will now select all, which is a Control A or the 3 dots. Compress this file or right-click compress. Now that wasn't too hard. Use a validator to ensure our data is of sufficient quality to be reported to the NTD and used by a trip planner. To find the validation tool, go to the National RTAP page for support and scroll down. Here's the link to the feed validator. You can choose the file from your computer. I like to drag and drop the file onto the validator, which results in the validation report. Open it. Data that we entered in GTFS Builder can now be found on the summary report, your website, your phone number. By including feed info, you can see the start and end dates. When we scroll down, we see if there are any errors or warnings. If you see no errors and warnings that you do not need to address, you could jump to the next section on hosting. When generating GTFS, there may be a stop missing or not matched in the Stops tab. We would look inside of our data, and if the stop ID is not found in our schedules workbook, we need to make an adjustment. When we prepare and generate our GTFS, we're going to run it through the validator again. We're watching that same process. We're in our feed folder. It's empty. We're going to fill it with this next version that may have some errors or warnings. We're compressing the file as we've done and dragging and dropping it onto the feed validator. Let's step through the compliance report. Any of the errors must be addressed. We have a missing field and we touch the row to get the details we need. The report structure directs you to the Roots tab or the Roots text file and then which data element is missing, in this case the root type. Open up our Excel workbook to the Roots tab, look for the root type, notice that it's blank, and fill in a 3 from our specifications section to look at. If there are any other errors like start and end date are out of range, we select that row and look at the details of what might be wrong, our calendar dates, and in this case there was a typo where the end date is before the start date. The correction is in the calendar tab, the start and end dates there. We make a correction and we can then go to the next warning or error on our list. We check the list. We've addressed all 3 issues. We regenerate the file, we run the report, and in this case, we resolved all the issues. You might find that you need to review the validator rules shown in each validation error or warning with the word here underscored. And there are many of them, so don't be frustrated. Just focus on what your data requires you to review. The errors must be addressed. Warnings be reviewed and possibly resolved, as well as those in info. You might end up looking at the references at gtfs.org as well. The top of the validation report allows you to confirm that your agency URL is accurate, your phone number is accurate, and that the data is valid into the future. Are each of the routes that you've generated with correct number in the counts and total number of stops. We're going to review a few items that are not necessarily caught by the validator, or the color contrast is just not visible, and we were missing a digit, and therefore in our Roots tab we're going to make a correction and bring that color back from unreadable. But in some cases, you might notice that black on green is really not readable, and you have to make that correction manually to white by changing the 0 to Fs, and 6 of those, and that makes it easier for that color contrast to be readable. The typo for your agency name is not found. If you click on the summary report, you can see that the writer would encounter a failed URL. You might want to go in and make that correction. A phone number, if it's incorrect, will be dialing someone that doesn't expect a call. And we've also noticed in some cases, Data Manager might appear as your website. This is not a validation error. It is a valid website, perhaps, while the phone number is actually a defunct phone number, so writers would really be frustrated. While this is an example of recent data we've seen, we encourage you to dial your phone number and confirm that it's valid. The validator will not be checking for typos. We're looking for the stop names to match your website, but if you put in a HOH with a 0, that will not be caught by the validator. Queets spelled with a Z, not an S. And Amanda Park, PK. Does everyone know what PK stands for?
Accurate data in your GTFS is your responsibility.
If you do not include a feed info file, in this case I deleted it from our data to show you what will happen when you run the validation report.
We cannot see who to contact if any corrections are needed, and the service time frame also is omitted.
You can absolutely host your file on your website. If that's easy for you, you can move to the next section. Some agencies, in this case Apache Transit, has put their web link on their website. Toward the bottom, right-click copy, you can copy the web link. For this agency, they have a GTFS developer page, and you scroll down, and if you're interested in the web link, it says click here for the web link, a P50 report for your NTD, which requires a web link. That's our goal. That web link will also be used for trip planners, but entered in your P50 report as add new web link.
Free and secure hosting is available at National RTAP. Go to the GTFS Builder page and look for Upload GTFS. Follow the instruction to create or access the account.
Select GTFS Builder, and now we're in the Upload portion of our website. And Section A asks you to validate the data. We did that a few moments ago. If you need the validator link, it's right there as well. We're now ready to upload a file, your valid GTFS, by choosing a file from your computer with your name that will not change. Once you say save, you might have to scroll up to agree.
Close the pop-up. Because you may be using this web link for your NTD report, we recommend that you go back to the validator and enter or load from a URL to test the file web link and confirm that it will pass. Congratulations on creating the valid GTFS file. If additional questions arise, reach out to us support@nationalrtap.org.